I never believed in magic. Not seriously, anyway. Sure, I'd laugh at the occasional psychic segment on TV or roll my eyes at someone's hocus-pocus claims. But magic? That was for stories. Until the day my neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, smiled at me across the street with a knowing glint in her eyes and handed me a small, delicate package. I'm Alex, 22, a university student studying graphic design. My life had been ordinary, predictable even. I had a part-time job at a local cafe, spent weekends gaming or sketching, and kept to myself most of the time. The secret side of my life, my fascination with dressing as a girl, was tucked away neatly, hidden beneath hoodies, jeans, and a careful social mask. I didn't often indulge, but when I did, it was thrilling. The soft feel of skirts brushing my legs, the brush of makeup against my skin, the subtle sway of high heels as I moved. That was my escape, my private sanctuary. But that ordinary life was about to unravel in ways I couldn't have imagined. It started with Mrs. Caldwell. She was our eccentric neighbor, living alone in the charming old house next door, surrounded by lush gardens and wind chimes that jingled in the evening breeze. Everyone whispered about her strange hobbies, though I never saw anything truly odd until that day. She called me over with a soft, sweet voice, her eyes glinting with amusement. "Alex, I think you'll enjoy this," she said, handing me the tiny box wrapped in faded silk. There was a faint smell of herbs, floral and earthy, like a forest floor after rain. I hesitated. Thanks. "You'll see," she said, her smile mysterious, before turning back to her garden as if nothing unusual had happened. The moment I held the package in my hands, a shiver ran through me. Something about it was oddly electric, almost alive. I set it down carefully in my room. My curiosity piqued. I didn't open it immediately, not that I could have resisted for long. But the moment I did, I realized that whatever was inside was no ordinary gift. A small vial, filled with a shimmering pink liquid, lay nestled in satin. Alongside it was a note in her flowing handwriting. "For your transformation, drink only when you're ready to explore what lies beneath." I laughed nervously. Transformation? What was she talking about? I had never shared my secret with anyone, not my parents, not my friends, not even Emma. Emma. She was complicated. My girlfriend of a year, kind, smart, and utterly impossible to read at times. She had always been supportive of my quirks, but I hadn't told her about my crossdressing, partly out of fear, partly out of shame. Emma liked control, order. My secret side didn't fit that image. And yet, every time I imagined revealing it, my heart would race with excitement and terror all at once. Now, this vial in front of me seemed to hold more than a simple potion. I hesitated, fingers brushing the smooth glass. Was it some elaborate joke? A harmless herbal drink? Or something else entirely? That evening, I sat on my bed, staring at the vial, wrestling with a strange mix of curiosity, fear, and anticipation. The apartment was quiet, sunlight fading behind the blinds, shadows stretching across the walls. The ticking clock amplified the tension in the room. Could I really do this? Could I risk everything for a taste of something magical? I thought of Emma again. Her playful teasing, her thoughtful gestures, the way she'd laugh at my jokes even when they weren't funny. I imagined how she might react if she saw me now, if she ever discovered this other side of me. Part of me wanted to tell her immediately, to see her face, to gauge her reaction. But another part, the part that had hidden Lila's secret life for years, urged caution. Finally, curiosity won. I uncorked the vial. The liquid shimmered like liquid rose gold, sending tiny sparks dancing along the glass. My hand shook as I brought it to my lips, feeling a thrill I hadn't experienced in years. I swallowed. Almost immediately, a warmth spread through my body, soft and tingling, like the first flush of a summer breeze. My fingers tingled, my chest tightened subtly, and my vision seemed to blur, softening the edges of the room. I staggered slightly, gripping the edge of my desk. And then, I felt it. The shift began slowly at first, a delicate, almost imperceptible change. My hands softened, fingers slender, nails smooth and pale. My face tingled, cheeks warming as if kissed by sunlight. My hair itched and tickled at the roots, growing softer, longer, framing my face in a gentle cascade I had never imagined. I staggered toward the mirror, heart pounding. My reflection blurred, then reshaped. Eyes widened, lips fuller, jawline softer. I barely recognized myself. The familiar, masculine features of Alex were melting away, replaced by delicate, feminine contours. A gasp escaped me, high-pitched and melodic, my own voice startling me in its new tone. I clutched the edge of the desk, trembling, both terrified and thrilled. The fantasy I had indulged in private, the feeling of being Lila, of moving and existing in a softer, more delicate form, was now vivid and real. I touched my cheek, feeling the subtle curves, ran fingers through my hair, silky and alive. Emma's face floated in my mind, and I imagined her seeing me like this. Would she be shocked? Curious? Amused? My pulse surged with the possibilities and the fear. This transformation wasn't just skin deep. It was altering my very identity, blurring the line between Alex and Lila. And then I heard it, Mrs. Caldwell's voice, soft but clear, echoing from the hallway. "Welcome, little sister," she said. I spun toward the door, but she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of herbs lingering in the air. My heart raced. What had I gotten myself into? What spell had I just drunk? And more importantly, how was I supposed to navigate this new reality when Emma walked in tomorrow, completely unaware of the magical changes that had transformed me into someone else entirely? The night stretched long, shadows shifting across the walls. I sat on the bed, wrapping my hands around the edges of the pillow, trembling with excitement and fear. Lila was alive, vibrant and vulnerable, and I had no idea how to control her, how to explain her, or how to survive the consequences of a spell I hadn't fully understood. The apartment was silent again, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking clock. But inside me, Lila stirred, delicate and alive, her new existence pressing against the edges of my consciousness. Tomorrow Emma would see me. Tomorrow, the world would expect answers I didn't have. And I realized the adventure, the suspense, the emotional chaos had only just begun. The next morning, I woke to the soft light filtering through my curtains, feeling different. Every movement, every sensation reminded me that I was no longer just Alex. Lila's body was fully mine now, delicate and vulnerable, yet strangely powerful in its new form. My hands brushed over my softer wrists, down to fingers slender and nimble, nails polished naturally, as if the spell had anticipated even the smallest details. Panic and exhilaration warred inside me. What if Emma noticed? What if she reacted badly? The thought of encountering her in this fragile, transformed state twisted my stomach into knots. I dressed carefully, selecting a pastel blouse and skirt that felt soft against my skin, the gentle sway of the fabric reminding me of every step I would have to take as Lila. Breakfast was a tense affair. I tiptoed around the apartment, practicing movements that felt foreign, yet somehow natural. My voice, soft and melodic, startled me every time I spoke aloud. Even saying good morning sounded different, vulnerable yet charming. Every sound was amplified, every gesture scrutinized by my own heightened awareness of this new form. Emma arrived shortly after, humming as she stepped into the apartment. Her eyes immediately caught mine, and the familiar warmth in her expression faltered, replaced by curiosity and a hint of confusion. "Alex? You look different," she said cautiously, tilting her head. I froze, heart hammering. Lila wanted to respond, to show her existence fully, yet fear gripped me. I just felt like trying something new," I murmured, fingers brushing the hem of my skirt. My voice sounded alien even to me, soft and high-pitched, a perfect reflection of the spell's subtle influence. Emma's brow furrowed, but she didn't press immediately. Instead, she sat beside me, observing quietly, her eyes flicking from my face to the delicate curve of my jawline, the softness of my hands, the subtle sway of my skirt as I moved. My pulse raced as I realized she could sense something was different, even if she didn't understand fully yet. Over the next few hours, I experimented cautiously. The spell didn't just alter my appearance. It seemed to influence my mind subtly, heightening emotions, sensitivity, and awareness. Touching fabric, brushing my hair, adjusting the skirt, all sensations felt electric, amplified, like discovering a new dimension of myself. But the thrill was paired with terror. Every sound outside the apartment, every knock at the door, felt like a potential exposure. What if someone noticed? What if Emma's curiosity turned to suspicion? The stakes were higher than I had anticipated. Mrs. Caldwell visited again mid-morning. Her smile was calm, almost knowing, as she observed me from across the kitchen. "How are you settling in, little sister?" she asked casually, as if she already knew every answer to every question. I blushed, unsure how to respond. It's different," I admitted, the words tumbling out in a voice that belonged to Lila more than Alex. The spell had woven itself into my very identity. Resisting felt impossible. She chuckled softly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "It's supposed to be. Don't fight it too hard. Embrace it. Explore it." Her words, though gentle, carried an undercurrent of power, as if she understood the full extent of what the spell could do. I shivered under her gaze, feeling exposed and alive all at once. The day progressed with a strange rhythm. Emma helped me adjust to Lila's form, offering subtle tips on posture, tone, and expression, unaware that I was now a magical creation rather than simply experimenting with my own crossdressing hobby. Every glance from her felt like both validation and danger. Could I truly maintain this secret? The first test came unexpectedly. A friend of Emma's, Mia, stopped by to return a book. My heart raced. I had no idea how she would react. Should I introduce myself as Lila? Should I try to disguise my transformation? My mind spun with anxiety and excitement, every possibility fraught with risk. When Mia stepped into the apartment, her eyes widened slightly, but she smiled politely. "Hey, Alex? You look, different," she said, tilting her head. I swallowed, forcing a soft laugh. "Yeah, just trying something new," I murmured, fingers nervously twisting the hem of my skirt. Lila's persona guided me, poised, delicate, and cautious, yet aware of every subtle cue around me. Mia's curiosity grew. You're different. I can't tell if it's style or something else." Panic surged. I realized that maintaining Lila as a stable identity would require constant vigilance. Every gesture, every word, every glance could betray me. The suspense was intoxicating and terrifying. Evening brought more challenges. I practiced moving through the apartment, adjusting to heels, skirts, and the subtle sway of my new body. Every step felt like walking a tightrope, balancing between Alex and Lila, between secrecy and revelation. The spell amplified every emotion: fear, excitement, vulnerability, and desire all intertwined into a complex web of sensation. Emma noticed the changes. "You seem more graceful," she observed, curiosity tinged with admiration. "Is this some sort of experiment?" I nodded vaguely, keeping the truth vague but consistent. "Something like that. Just exploring new sides of myself." Her eyes lingered on me, warm but probing. I could feel the tension, the unspoken questions. Would she accept Lila? Would she reject this new reality? The emotional stakes felt higher than any physical transformation. Then came the first real test of Lila's composure. A sudden knock at the door, Mrs. Caldwell's niece, visiting unexpectedly. Panic surged. My heart raced, and I realized how vulnerable I truly was. Lila had to act convincingly, gracefully, without revealing that magic had rewritten my body and mind overnight. I took a deep breath, channeling every lesson, every sensation, every moment of practice. Lila's voice, soft and melodic, emerged naturally. "Hi, welcome," I said, offering a polite smile, hands trembling slightly but controlled. The niece smiled back, oblivious to the deeper secrets beneath Lila's appearance. Conversation flowed, and I realized, for the first time, that Lila could navigate this new world, but every interaction remained a high-wire act. One misstep, one subtle reaction, and my secret would be exposed. Hours passed in a delicate balance of social interaction and private experimentation. The spell continued to stabilize Lila's form, subtly enhancing emotions, responses, and awareness. I felt the thrill of discovery alongside the constant fear of exposure. Every moment was suspenseful, emotionally charged, and deeply personal. By nightfall, I realized the transformation was more than skin-deep. Lila wasn't just a disguise or a temporary role. She was an identity, fragile, beautiful, and alive. Emma's acceptance, or rejection, loomed as the ultimate test, and Mrs. Caldwell's magical influence remained unpredictable. I stared into the mirror late at night, fingers brushing the soft contours of my face, lips, and hair. Lila's reflection smiled back, vulnerable, feminine, and full of possibility. But outside the safe walls of the apartment, the world remained unaware, and the suspense of whether anyone would accept, question, or expose Lila loomed like a storm waiting to break. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, I sensed that Mrs. Caldwell's spell had more surprises in store, tests, challenges, perhaps even dangers I hadn't anticipated. The tension, excitement, and thrill were only beginning. The following morning, I awoke with Lila fully entrenched in my consciousness. My body felt entirely her own now, soft, delicate, alive with the subtle rhythm of femininity. Every step toward the mirror, every glance at my reflection, reminded me that the experiment, or rather, the spell, had succeeded beyond anything I could have imagined. But with success came a mounting tension that gripped me like ice. Emma arrived at the apartment as usual, unaware of just how dramatically my life had changed overnight. The moment she stepped inside, I felt the pulse of anticipation. Would she notice something was truly different? Or would she see only a playful experiment, a temporary curiosity? Her gaze swept over me. "Alex, you really do look different," she said, tilting her head, a mixture of curiosity and admiration in her eyes. I felt my stomach twist. Different could mean anything, from intrigued to suspicious. Before I could respond, a soft chime echoed from the door. My pulse skipped a beat. Mrs. Caldwell's niece had returned, apparently unexpectedly. I froze, caught between my delicate persona and the reality of potential exposure. The door opened, revealing her curious, smiling face. "Hey, I forgot my notebook, thought I'd drop by," she said casually, completely unaware of the tension in the room. I swallowed, forcing Lila's calm, polite smile. Every instinct screamed caution. One wrong word, one misstep, could shatter the delicate balance between my hidden life and the world. Emma glanced at me, then at the niece, and raised an eyebrow. "You seem confident today," she observed, and a small smile flickered across her face. I swallowed hard, realizing that the stakes weren't just about appearance. They were about maintaining composure, poise, and identity under scrutiny. As the niece settled in, chatting about homework and gossip, I felt a subtle pull from the spell. Lila's body and mind were fully integrated, but the magic seemed to have a rhythm of its own, a pulse that demanded awareness and attention. Every touch, glance, and word became amplified, a symphony of sensations that I had to navigate carefully. The first real test came unexpectedly. A loud knock echoed from the front door. I stiffened. Emma froze. My pulse thundered in my ears. "Delivery for Alex," a voice called. I glanced at the mirror. My reflection trembled with anticipation and fear. Lila's delicate fingers brushed the hem of her skirt instinctively. Emma walked to the door, opening it with her usual curiosity. A tall figure, face obscured by shadows, held a package. The instant our eyes met, I felt the tension spike, a sudden awareness that this could be a threat, a revelation, or an unforeseen obstacle. The delivery person handed the package to Emma, who looked puzzled. "I didn't order anything," she muttered. I stepped forward instinctively, Lila's voice soft and melodic. Maybe it's from the neighbor? Emma's eyes flicked to me, curiosity mixed with suspicion. I smiled nervously, heart pounding. This small interaction, seemingly mundane, had become a test of control, composure, and secrecy. The package was heavy, wrapped in thick paper, sealed with a wax emblem I didn't recognize. Emma set it down on the counter, eyes narrowing slightly. Alex, are you sure this is okay? I forced a calm laugh. Yeah, probably something harmless, I said, but every fiber of Lila trembled with anxiety. I could feel the spell's subtle insistence on caution, awareness, and poise. As Emma turned away, I felt a sudden shift in the air, a strange, tingling sensation crawling over my skin. My reflection in the mirror shimmered slightly, and for a brief moment, I caught a glimpse of something unnatural. Lila's eyes glowing faintly, her posture almost imperious. The spell was alive, aware, demanding attention. And then the unexpected happened. The niece leaned forward, eyes wide. Alex, or should I say, Lila, did you change? Her voice was soft, cautious, tinged with awe. My heart slammed against my ribs. Exposure, or acknowledgement, loomed closer than ever. I swallowed, forcing a delicate laugh. Just experimenting, I murmured, fingers brushing my hair instinctively. Lila's persona was taking over completely now, every gesture, every tone, every expression designed to convey femininity, poise, and innocence. Emma turned sharply, eyes wide. Wait, what did you just say? I felt the spell's pulse intensify, a soft, warm vibration coursing through my body. Lila's awareness was heightened, every emotion amplified. Fear, excitement, vulnerability, and curiosity collided, creating a storm of sensation that left me trembling. Before I could respond further, the niece reached out, touching my arm lightly. I've never seen anything like this, she whispered. Her gaze held fascination, not judgment, but the subtle weight of understanding. Emma's face twisted in confusion and suspicion. Alex, Lila, what's going on here? I took a deep breath, realizing that I could no longer deny the reality. Lila had taken over, fully, irreversibly in some ways. The spell had rewritten not just my body, but my identity, amplifying my emotions, sensitivity, and awareness. Every moment was a delicate balancing act between revelation and secrecy, trust and fear. And then the most dangerous test of all arrived. Mrs. Caldwell herself appeared in the doorway, her expression calm, knowing, and slightly mischievous. I see the experiment is progressing beautifully, she said softly, eyes glinting with unspoken power. But every test has consequences. I froze, Lila's body trembling subtly under the weight of anticipation. Emma's hand gripped mine instinctively, sensing the tension. Even the niece stepped back, uncertainty and awe flickering in her eyes. Mrs. Caldwell smiled faintly, walking into the room. Magic always demands balance, she said. And every transformation carries a price. My stomach twisted. I realized the spell's true nature, not just cosmetic, not just emotional, but deeply psychological. Lila was alive, but the price for her existence was yet to be revealed. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Shadows shifted unnaturally, and the room seemed to stretch, the walls breathing subtly. I stumbled slightly, clutching my chest. Lila's awareness surged. Heightened senses, amplified emotions, a rush of delicate, feminine vulnerability, coupled with fear and exhilaration. Emma gasped. Alex, what's happening? I don't know, I whispered, voice trembling. Lila's form was trembling, delicate, alive with a beauty and fragility I had never known. The mirror shimmered again, reflecting not just Lila, but a dual image, Alex and Lila intertwined, struggling for dominance, identity, and control. My heart raced, mind spinning with anxiety, excitement, and confusion. Mrs. Caldwell's voice cut through the chaos. Now you will see the final test. Will Lila survive exposure? Will she navigate the world with grace, secrecy, and power? Or will the spell consume her entirely? A sudden knock echoed from the front door. Someone unexpected, someone I couldn't predict. Every instinct screamed danger, every emotion heightened. Lila's body stiffened, fingers trembling, heart pounding. The suspense had reached its peak. The door opened slowly, and a shadowed figure stepped into the room. Recognition sparked, a person from my past, someone who could expose, challenge, or destroy everything. Lila's eyes met theirs. Time seemed to freeze. Every heartbeat, every breath, every movement held the weight of revelation. And then a soft, chilling laugh filled the apartment.